I was just watching your highlights on the Battle of the Blades, and you mentioned your dad didn't want you in hockey. How'd that make you feel?
As a kid, it didn't really rattle me too much. I think I was just such a young kid, and I was having so much fun playing it that I didn't really know that he didn't want me. He never verbally said it to me. He just said it to my mother. So my mom kept that info privy to herself and went about her own business in terms of making sure I got the proper equipment and signed me up for hockey herself, and figured, if her daughter was having fun playing this game, then she was going to do her best to make sure that she had all the opportunities that she could to play. So thankfully for my mother and her determination in finding me equipment and registering me, she got me playing, and it didn't take long for my dad to jump on board, to be honest. It was just, I think, an initial thought that came to his mind back then, and he doesn't regret anything that my mother did, definitely nowadays, seeing how everything kind of played out.
How was it like back then being a female playing with male players?
You know what? I feel like growing up in Sudbury, there wasn't many girls' teams up there at the time, so I was playing street hockey with all of these young boys anyway, so it didn't really matter. We played on an outdoor hockey team, so I think everyone was more worried about staying warm than they were the fact that there was a little girl on their team. But I wasn't the only one. There was another young player named Kaylee and Christine on my team. And we played against a young girl named Katie Johnson as well, who is Rebecca Johnson's older sister, who plays on the Canadian national hockey team right now. So there was a herd of us, that's for sure, who were interested in wanting to play hockey. And we kind of nudged our way into a little boys league. And for the most part, all the parents were very accepting, and the guys just loved having us around. I mean, it didn't matter. We were being picked for mini-stick teams when our mini-stick tournaments would come about, when we were away on the road playing in tournaments together and just having a grand old time. Again, it was the game that mattered, right? It wasn't what gender we were.
I mean this with all due respect, because I don't want the interview to end right now, but I think you're a feisty player, and seeing some of your interviews, you give off so what, I'm a female attitude. I can do what any male can do, and to be honest, I admire that quality. Where did you pick up this kind of trait?
Oh, gosh. The way I played was, I want to say, influenced by my father, who knew that I wasn't going to be a very large in stature girl. I wasn't going to be one of the bigger girls out there that could roughhouse. And he knew if I was playing with boys that I would have to be able to hold my own. So it was his plan to, I guess, have me watch and mimic the play of Darius Kasparaitis, who was a very tenacious and wild and scary hockey player to play against. I'm sure if you could interview Mario Lemieux or anybody that got a chance to play against him, they'd tell you that they'd rather play with him than against him. And that's the kind of hockey that my dad wanted me to play. So from a very young age, I guess I could say I was influenced by that play in terms of the style of play that he played. And as well, my dad coached a college hockey team in Sudbury called Cambrian Golden Shield, and they were also a very tough hockey team as well. So I grew up watching them kind of beat up on some teams. So that's where the physicality and the nastiness kind of came from. But as far as being able to do anything any male can do, or setting my mind to something and sticking with it, I attribute that to both my parents and my sister, even my grandparents. I feel like, that I was always taught that the world was my oyster and it had everything I needed. All I had to do was ask and work hard. And as a kid, my dad always said to my sister and I, when I retire, I'm going to need a boat and a racehorse. Who's going to buy me one of those? Someone's going to have to be a doctor and a lawyer, and you guys are going to be the best doctor and lawyers out there. And it was like, we could be whatever we wanted, and we could get those great jobs, and we could be good at it. And I feel like I grew up with a single grandmother, a widowed grandmother my whole life, who raised her children on her own. And, to see how strong and independent she is, and how she carried 2 jobs at times on her own just to support my mom and her sisters and brother, and the way she just made things work, kind of, I guess as a young kid, you're a sponge and you're picking up on these things whether you know it or not. And thanks to the encouragement of my dad and my mom, and, the example set by my grandmother, I feel like it's not just myself, it's my sister, all my cousins. We're just know what we like to do, know what we want to do, and we get after it. And as far as we're concerned, there's no barrier that's going to get in our way.
You were a hockey player, you turned broadcaster now with TSN. I want to know, when you were playing hockey, did you feel like women's hockey was being undermined or not as valued as much as the men's?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there needs to be a following. I mean, when I started playing in the CWHL, there was only one league, right? There wasn't two. So there wasn't the NWHL and the CWHL competing for, I guess, broadcast rights or fanship, I guess I could say. But from the beginning, the first year that I played in 2010 in the CWHL compared to the last year when I retired in 2014, I feel like the amount of fans and followers that we had tripled and almost quadrupled, and it was amazing to see the growth of the game. And the coverage we were getting from TSN and Sportsnet and CBC was there, and obviously it's going to grow as our game grows. We're still trying to figure our league out as well in terms of finding a way to get these young ladies paid for the work that they put in the games that they play. And I think the growth of our game has always continued to rise. We haven't really diminished in any way, shape, or form yet, which is a positive. And I think as long as we continue doing that and we don't grow too quickly, and what I mean by that is not biting off too much, more than we can chew, I guess. And I think that right now the CWHL is doing a fantastic job in terms of taking the steps, sometimes baby steps needed to move forward to make sure that, you know, the product is there, the product quality is there. Right now our Clarkson Cup tournament is being covered. It's aired on national TV. I feel like it's not like we're being completely shut out. The main difference, obviously, between the men and the women is that they have a well-funded, highly sustainable league that is on national broadcast every night. And, of course, they're making a pretty penny while doing it. But that being said, our game's still young and it's still growing, and we're appreciative of everything we have now and all the opportunities we do get.
How does it make you feel when you hear broadcasters point out that a female player is a mother or is married to so-and-so, like a celebrity? Does it upset you? Does it kind of diminish what you've accomplished?
No, because Sportsnet runs features on their players, the men in the NHL who have had children. They mention it when they have kids. Mike Fisher, everybody knows that he's married to Carrie Underwood. It's tit for tat, I guess. I mean, it's who we are as people. You know, that's what people like about social media nowadays, is that they can get to know the athlete on a more personal level. And that's just a part of us. Now, if they get into personal information in terms of whether your relationship is going well or not, I don't think that is news. But I don't think that would make or break or me changing a channel by any means of watching anything. And I don't take any offense to it. But if that's going to be the only thing they report, based on who you're married to, having it be a celebrity or not, would have to say that whoever that reporter would be maybe might want to do a little bit more homework.
I just brought it up because I feel like in hockey they don't do it as badly as other sports. Like, I know there's a commercial, I don't know if it's on TV or if I've seen it on YouTube, but they mention about sometimes when Jeannie Bouchard is playing tennis, someone will say, "Oh, nice outfit. Who made your outfit?" rather than focusing on our game. And they did a piece of, they had, I think, Crosby in it and a famous soccer player, and the questions they were asking were more based on their appearance and what they were wearing rather than their game. So do you think that in that kind of aspect, does that annoy you a bit?
Honestly, personally, I've never been asked a question about my attire, but again, I mean, men's suits, as they're walking into hockey rinks, get, I guess, a lot of publicity. PK Subban's involved in fashion. Unfortunately, we're a materialistic society, and things like that come to the forefront. But sometimes, I guess, the proper questions that should be asked get missed, especially in sports like tennis. I don't know if you've ever sat in on some of the interviews that take place after a match, but they're rather painful on the male or female side. I think that all just comes down to who the reporter is and what kind of knowledge they have based on sport as opposed to, I guess, their personal interests. And obviously, if only the appearance is being looked at or asked about, I mean, those questions are ridiculous and shouldn't be asked. You know, a male tennis player or a male athlete's never going to be asked to twirl in their tennis dress, which those things do happen, and it's unfortunate. But the good news is that usually when those things happen, there's a large outcry on social media and Twitter, so it just goes to show that the masses don't stand for something like that.
Do you think the aspect of the world of social media and Facebook makes it kind of a more leveled field in the sense like there's more people speaking out about it, or do you see that as kind of being harmful, that more people are being overly picky?
I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, right? And I feel like with the good comes the bad. So obviously, whether Twitter was there or not, I'm sure, let's say, for instance, Jeannie Bouchard was asked to twirl once. If Twitter wasn't there, she would have received a boatload of fan mail, and that network probably would have received a boatload of hate mail in terms of supporting her and saying that they shouldn't have done that. But, I mean, I enjoy Twitter. I think it gives everyone an outlet to, I guess, vent or show their support. I just don't like it when people take it to a severely negative area in terms of cyberbullying or things like that.
And let's change shifts. See what I did there, Tessa? Shifts,
Let's
hockey.
do it.
In 2014, you joined TSN as a reporter and anchor. Now that you're on the media side, can you kind of explain how that came to be?
It was a fluke, actually. I was on Battle of the Blades, and Annie Petrillo at the time was working at Leafs TV, and she had just signed a contract with CBC Hockey Night in Canada, and she was going to be leaving Leafs TV a couple of months, I believe it was. And I had gotten a phone call asking if I'd be interested in doing some part-time work for them. I decided, sure, might as well go in and try it out. It wasn't what I had taken in school. And I just went with it and figured this was an easy way to make some cash and to be able to continue to train and play hockey. And I ended up falling in love with it. Leafs TV kind of opened the door to this whole new world for myself and gave me nothing but support and help. And I feel like I was able to get better day in and day out. And they put me in a lot of different situations where I was able to learn, make mistakes, not in front of a huge viewership either, which was nice, because I don't know how Cassie Campbell did it, but she grew up in front of like 5.6 million people every weekend, which is crazy to me. But it was a nice way to get my feet wet in the industry, to figure out what I like doing in the industry. And yeah, I ended up not really using my my college degree and going with a completely different career path. So I don't regret any part of it. I love it. I love the people I work with. I love the job that I get to do every day. I love the company I work for. And I mean, hey, I'm talking sports. It's, either I'd be doing it at work or at home over a beer with a bunch of friends. So very lucky and very blessed.
And just out of pure interest, what did you take in college?
I took speech language pathology.
Okay. And what does that entail?
So I wanted to be a speech language pathologist. So if you had any type of speech pathology, like a lisp or a stutter or anything like that, I would help correct it.
Okay, that's really cool. Do you feel women are equal to men in the media, like especially in sports media? I know we talked about the coverage, but do you think now that you're on the news side, do you feel like if you had an opinion or if you had something to say or brought up something in a meeting that you're just as valued as a male's opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like our producers are very open to, I guess, discussion about what goes into our show, and we're able to fight for reasons why we think certain packs should be either higher up or lower in the show. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but it rarely has to do with the fact that you're a female. In the industry in itself, TSN aside, I find that there is a major void in female analysts. And I know Cassie Campbell has gone on the panel before, and she's done a fantastic job doing so. But I just feel like there's no female analysts out there, and I think that there's an opportunity for some networks to make a huge splash in the industry, and there are some very talented and educated young women out there who can do a fantastic job, and I think would bring a unique approach or opinion to a panel. And I think that's the only part that's really lacking in the industry. Obviously, there's a lot of women working sideline reporting. There's a lot of women doing some hosting. Not a lot doing some play-by-play or color. So I guess there's still some areas where we're breaking ground and trying to make some legroom for ourselves. But, I mean, I feel like I get nothing but support from the network that I work for and from my coworkers and things like that. So I definitely don't feel suppressed or oppressed in any way. I just know that there are some areas in the industry where women can still be implemented.
And why do you feel, just out of your own opinion, why do you think that there isn't a lot of females in the play-by-play or color category?
I don't think many of them have come up through, I guess, college or university or whatever it may be, calling games at a midget level or a junior level or anything like that. So there's a little bit of a void right now, but I mean, leave it to one woman to get on the airwaves and I think that the floodgates will bust right open.
What do you think the issue is, if there is one, in how women are seen in the media? Do you think there's an issue in how they're seen, or do you think that it's pretty much they're on the same par as males?
Seen by viewers, or
seen by viewers or seen by the networks, whichever one that you want to kind of prefer. Because I know with some cases, a lot of people, like for instance, the Emily Andrews case. When it came out, a lot of people you had people that were supporting, but you also had a lot of people that were kind of saying, oh, she brought it on herself. But like, I feel like if that was a male thing, it doesn't happen so much to the males. But do you think, how do you react to that kind of environment, or those kind of, when you see those kind of tweets or stories?
You kind of get used to them when you're in the industry. I feel like when the first year I came into it, it was a little bit shocking, but then you kind of think about the types of people that are tweeting those things, and they all kind of roll off your back. But I don't know, I feel like for the most part, if and when I'm out and about in the city and out talking to a bunch of people at a hockey game or a basketball game or whatnot, for the most part, they appreciate our input and appreciate our opinions on certain situations and certain teams, and they want to talk sports. So it's rare that you'll come across a hater face to face. The keyboard seems to be a pretty easy way for people to vent, I guess, or unload some of their own self-loathing. For the most part, I think we're appreciated in the industry. Unless we're terrible at our job, then by all means, if we haven't done our homework and we're doing something bad, I guess we deserve to hear it from our bosses. But other than that, I think that, I haven't met one person that said they don't like Jen Hedger's coverage on TSN Sports Center, or nobody likes Natasha in the morning. I mean, for the most part, I like her coverage. I like the way she delivers sports news. She's very well versed in all sports, and so as long as you're a chick and you're into sports, I think male and female will respect that and enjoy your coverage. And the rest, they don't really matter.
I agree. I mean, when I'm watching Natasha and Kate in the morning, or if I even see you on the TV, I'm looking and saying, like, now she knows what she's talking about, so I'm going to stay tuned and listen. Especially when it's a female talking about female hockey that's played the sport, it's even better. Do you think that your hockey background also helped you in this field? Like, do you think that you get more credibility from being a former player as well?
You'd be surprised the amount of people that had no idea that I played hockey. Which is fine, and I don't mind that at all. Working with TSN and working with Leafs TV has been a learning process for myself. Like I said, I never went to university or college for any part of this, so every day on the job was another day in class for me. And I was fortunate enough to have Chris Hebb, who was the man who first discovered me and hired me at Leafs TV, and then again Stuart Johnson and Mark Milliere to take a chance on me and hire me at TSN. So they've all been very patient, and they've all given me ample opportunity to get better at my job and to improve every day. And, I just do my best every time I come in not to let them down and to try and improve on one thing every time I step in that newsroom and on that set. So, I still feel like I'm a baby in this business, which I am, and I still feel like I have so much more to learn. And I get excited every time I get to go to work because I'm eager to learn and I'm eager to get better at a job that I love. So I think I've been put in a pretty sweet situation, and I think that having played hockey helps me in a sense that now I have something new to direct my passion and my drive to be good at something for. And, athletes are very competitive, but more so we're competitive with ourselves. And I think that's what helps us be successful in life and hopefully can help me continue to be successful in the business.
Do you think women have come a long way?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, we weren't able to vote. Now we can vote. We're still continuing to push and obviously make headway in the sporting world and things like that, and for equality in terms of equal wages and all that. But from what I see from the younger generations coming up, and even from people my age or people like Lisa Laflamme who ahead of me, we've got some strong, independent-driven women out there who don't stop at anything. So I think the future is bright for all of us, and I'm excited to see what the next 5 to 10 years can bring.
Personally, how do you think you're seen by viewers or in the media? Do you see yourself as a role model, or do you see yourself as just kind of a person that got lucky and really just thrived at what she was kind of given?
I feel like anybody who is viewed in a public eye has a responsibility to be a role model. So I do definitely carry myself, but I see myself as a northern girl. I feel like I grew up in northern Ontario, and I'm pretty laid back and chill. I like steak and potatoes, and I drink beer. I feel like I'm no different than the next person, but at the same time, I want to set the proper example for young girls who watch TV and watch TSN, or who watch me play hockey, and I want them to strive to be good Samaritans and, to treat others, regardless of their race, gender, ethnicity, or what it be, the way they want to be treated. And because I feel like that's the way I was brought up, and that's the way I treat my neighbors.
Do you think all these things helped you, or did you always feel kind of destined that, once I'm done hockey, I want to become a broadcaster?
No, that was never on my mind. I never knew I wanted to be a broadcaster. I'm the type of person who rarely says no to an opportunity. I always think, if something's presented to you, it's presented to you for a reason. You might as well check it out. You can always back out after, but if you never check it out, you never know. So I think everyone has opportunities thrown at them throughout their life. It's just a matter of what you end up doing with them, and call it luck, call it what you will, but I found something that tickled my fancy, and I threw my heart and soul into it, and that ended up being broadcasting. And I saw an opportunity when Chris Hebb called me and told me Andy Petrillo was leaving Leafs TV, saying that they needed a part-time anchor, reporter, host, analyst. And I saw an opportunity to make money so I could survive and continue training for hockey living in downtown Toronto. If I didn't have that opportunity, I probably would have had to have, moved home or something like that, or found another job. And I thought it was something that was going to be fun, and it turned out being just that. I mean, had I not enjoyed it, I probably would have finished out the year, thanked them for the opportunity, and gone on and done my master's in speech-language pathology. So it's funny how things work out sometimes, but that's kind of how I found my calling in life, and I'm sure someone's got a very similar story, and at the same time, I'm sure someone else has a completely different one, but that's just the way my path was paved, and I made sure to take advantage of all the opportunities that were presented to me, and I'm going to continue living that way as well.
And finally, the last question. I hope this doesn't get too upsetting, or just make sure that I have this wording right. But do you think yourself as being one of the boys, or are you still one of the girls who just love playing hockey, grew up playing hockey, and really strive to set an example for the next generation?
Oh, I don't see myself as one of the boys or girls. I feel like, I grew up with a group of friends that, the guys and the women hung out together, and gender didn't really matter. We were all just pretty chill and relaxed, and I feel like the same thing goes in the newsroom with, whether it be Dutch, Kate, Natasha, Nabil, whomever it may be, Brian Mudrick. If we're all going to go out, we'll text each other, we'll meet up with each other, and conversations are the same regardless of who's at the table with us. So, I don't know. I feel like as long as you're a good person and you treat people with respect and kindness, I think that you'll be a joy to be around, and people will want you to be either one of the guys or one of the ladies. So that's the motto I kind of live by.
That's going to do it for this episode of Tobin Tonight. Our thanks to Tessa Bonhomme for coming on the show. Remember, you can find past, present, and future episodes on TobinTonight.com, Spotify, and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave a comment or two. For Tobin and myself, this is Jacob saying thanks for listening, and good night.